Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Escape into Freedom. Now, there's a question that I've been getting quite a few times recently, and that question is, am I too late to invest? Am I too old to invest? There's some people that they might be in their 40s or their 50s, and they're asking me if they're too late to invest. Does it make any sense to invest when you're that age? Now, to answer that question, I'm gonna give you two examples, all right? So let's get in them. So this is Joe. This is Average Joe. First name Average, surname Joe somehow. And I don't really know this man. This is what came up when I searched for 50-year-old man on Google. But let's look at him as an example, okay? Now, we're gonna look at two scenarios, okay? Just to really drive this point home. The first scenario is that Average Joe never invests his money, right? Ever. He's never invested and he never invests. Now, he, is just like the usual person, a regular person. He works a 9-to-5 job and expects to retire at 66. Okay, now, I've had a look at some data, and according to Gallup, at least up to 2014, the expected retirement age on 2014, I don't know how different it is now in 2018, but it was 66 years of age. So Average Joe expects to retire at 66, and he has a net worth of around $170,000, all right? Again, I've had a look at some data, and, census.gov runs some numbers, and, I've kind of just guesstimated, okay? Between 65 and 69, it's around there somewhere. So yeah, let's say that he's got a net worth at retirement, okay, at 66 of $170,000. But let's take this one step further, okay? What would happen to Average Joe by the time he was 80 years old? Well, by 80 years old, he would have $170,000 still. Okay, now why is that? Well, I'm assuming that he's an average Joe, right? The average person. So he's got most of his net worth in property, right? In the house he lives in. And, he maybe has some investments, but, he's quite a conservative person, just like the average person. Maybe he invests in bonds that kind of give him, 3% a year. This keeps up with inflation. And again, property, if you look at data, through, worldwide data, kind of the average, property normally on average goes up at the same pace as inflation. Okay, now inflation is around 3% per year. That's kind of the average inflation, especially in the US. So yeah, let's say that by 80 years old, Joe's got about the same, $170,000. The easy thing would be for Joe to say, oh man, I'm 50 years old. I've missed my boat. I'm not going to invest. Okay, I'm too old to invest. But this is why I want to show you this scenario, okay? Because you'll see this is pretty crazy. This version of Average Joe starts investing at 50 years old. Okay, now he still retires at 66, right? Just like the other scenario. But this is what happens to his net worth. Okay, not only does he have the $170,000 that the other Joe has, but he's also been able to build up an extra $310. Now, you might be asking, where have I pulled that number from? Well, I've done some little calculations, all right, just really simple Excel, okay? And I've just assumed that, at the age of 50, he's probably got a pretty good job, right? So, as soon as he starts kind of tracking his expenses, tracking his money, his finances, let's say that he can save $1,000 a month, right? $12,000 per year. And let's also say that he invests all that money, right? Every month or every 2 weeks, whenever he gets paid, he invests it in, some mutual funds or some stocks that pay dividends, right? But the important thing is this, right? I've assumed that his investments will grow at an average of 8% per year, right? Now, this is the average that the stock market has grown at over the last century or more, okay? I've also taken inflation into account, okay? This is after inflation. And, he puts away $12,000 every year, and what's in there grows by 8% after inflation, right? So at the age of 66, he's been able to amass $310,000. So that's where that number comes from, right? It totals $480,000, okay? This is already way higher than in scenario 1, but it gets better than this. Let's have a look at how much average Joe would have by the time he's 80. Now, again, in the calculations, I've just assumed that, at the time of his retirement, right, when he gets to 66 years old, he stops earning money, so he stops investing, right? All he does is just keep that money there, doing its thing, right? Growing by an average of 8% after inflation. This is how much he would have, okay? Just like in the other scenario, his core net worth, right, mainly being his property and, some bonds here and there, would still be $170,000. But what he started investing at the age of 50 would be worth $614,000, all right? So bringing his total to almost $800,000. That's not too far from $1 million, guys, okay? And that's starting to invest at the age of 50. He has still been able to give it 30 years, right? Between 50 and 80. I think it's quite obvious, guys, that the answer to the question, am I too old to invest, is no. You should start investing as soon as possible, guys. It doesn't matter how old you are, even if you're 60. It doesn't matter. The point is that things will grow at a certain percentage, and really the sooner you start, the better. Which leads me to this old Chinese proverb, right? It says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Now the second best time is right now. Now, in this channel, I'm going to make a lot of metaphors, okay? I love metaphors, I love examples. But one of the best metaphors is comparing investing with planting a tree, right? They're actually very similar, The tree will grow and it will start producing fruits, and the fruits are like the dividends, the passive income. So there you have it, guys. The answer is yes, invest regardless of what age you are. Obviously, it's better if you're 20 or 10, right? The earlier, the better. But yeah, doesn't matter if you're 50 or 60, just invest. You're always going to be better off if you invest than if you don't invest, right? So that's it from me. Make sure to like this video if you found it helpful. Make sure to subscribe because I'll be creating videos like this every single week. And yeah, guys, just have an awesome day. See you later.